The sirens go on, and a squad car rushes through traffic to an emergency call. This is known as Code 3 by the LAPD. Under current policy, the LAPD may assign only one unit to turn on their lights and sirens when responding to an emergency call. All other units responding to the same call must follow the rules of the road. First Assistant Chief Jim McDonnell says having just one unit to respond to an emergency is problematic.
They're responding what's known by the officers as code 2.5. Well, they'll respond, they may flip the lights on to get through an intersection, and then they turn them off when they get to the other side of the intersection. The public sees that and they think that the officers just flipped them on so they didn't have to wait.
In an effort to lift the restrictive use of Code 3, the LAPD proposes to rewrite the code so more units can respond to emergency calls. The matter was taken up by City Council. Because officers have resorted to Code 2.5, Commander Stuart Maislin says the city has had to pay $11.5 million in officer-involved traffic collisions.
If we get into a traffic collision, there's liability on our part, and the city of Los Angeles has paid them over $11.5 million in the last 3 years due to, and that's just 3 traffic collisions. Just three.
But Councilman Bernard Parks is not entirely pleased with the new Code 3 policy.
They're changing a rule to benefit a group of officers that refuse to comply with the current rule, which is they're reluctant to go Code 3 because somebody will basically monitor and critique what they did.
But Maislin says requiring officers to notify other units of their plans to go Code 3 is simply not feasible.
Officers felt that the mere fact that we required them to do that meant that we didn't want them to go Code 3 and use their emergency equipment.
Taking these factors into consideration, the council voted 8-2 to allow all LAPD officers to go Code 3 if they decide it's necessary when responding to an emergency. Starting May 15th, LAPD officers can go Code 3 at their own discretion, meaning they can turn on their sirens without having to call it in. From City Hall, I'm Alex Hinojosa.